Congratulations! This game's winner is...
Welcome to GameChat, a podcast focused on esports and all things game-related. Each episode, we interview an exciting guest from the world of gaming, from up-and-coming streamers to YouTube celebrity gamers. We learn and share together with our audience. So go ahead and jump in on this GameChat. Now, here's your host, Daniel Scott and Lance Jefferson.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of Game Chat. We got another special guest here with us today, better known as Drift0r. Welcome Drift0r to Game Chat. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what games you play.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's good to be here. My name is Brad, but most people know me as Drift0r, and I've been making YouTube videos for almost a decade now, running my own channel for about 8 years. I did some stuff with Machinima before that, so I've been around for a lot of changes.
Awesome.
And I'm probably best known for doing Call of Duty, guides, advice, engine breakdowns, stats, stuff like that. But in general, the kind of videos I make are game guides, usually on the more technical end and less on the opinionated side, with occasionally some deeper, more personal topics or commentaries that are designed to help people either mentally, philosophically, spiritually, whatever. Those kind of come in frequently, though.
Awesome.
So, do you do your own content creation in regards to editing and all of your video editing and stuff?
I used to. Up until about 4 or 5 months ago, it was a completely one-man show.
Okay.
I did all the recording, all the editing, all the voice effects, everything. However, in the last 4 or 5 months, I have hired an editor.
Okay.
So for some projects now, I rely on the editor, and some I still do myself.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. Is it a local editor or is it someone you found online?
Somebody I found online. It was a fan of mine who originally started making me stream highlights that I could share on Twitter or elsewhere.
Awesome.
And then I contacted him to just make highlights of certain games at a commission rate, that is. And then later I just decided to hire him full time.
That's awesome. So what got you started with your YouTube streaming and your guide?
The short version is it was something that I didn't even know was possible when I first started. We got to travel back in time to the days of the Dazzle and the EasyCap and the Hog HD PVR. And I had a random spam message on Xbox looking for body actors. And I was like, what in the world? And I just had to reply and see what was going on. And that's where I found Machinima, which is, you would use the theater mode in Halo to film Spartans, and their heads would bob up and down like this when they talk, like red versus blue. And I realized that the games I was playing, specifically Halo at the time of the theater mode, had a sort of engine and camera and editing system and everything built into it. And I could tell little stories using those tools without having to hire actors or a set or stuff like that. And I always enjoyed telling stories and writing things, so I experimented with that and had some success. And that led to doing guides, because that commentary eventually would take over that. And then streams after guides, and I've just been kind of riding the wave of chaos and trying to keep up with whatever new content people want to see.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So well over 10 years in the game as a content creator.
That's
I'm still barely hanging in there. So
that's amazing, right? It's about keeping that content out there, right? Being consistent. So you mentioned Call of Duty. Did you play competitively at any point, or was it?
No, I did own a team. I was a co-owner of Team EnVyUs for a little bit.
Okay.
I am no longer. I was a very, very minority shareholder. So when the big money investment came in, I got forcibly bought out and the shares were redistributed.
Gotcha.
But I got the equity for free and I was paid well for it. So I was pretty happy with that. And I would occasionally give advice to professional players. I made my own fake pro team, Pink Wall, to play at events, mostly just so that I could have fun and kind of, pretty much just to have fun and control of it, not never in any serious capacity. The closest I've come to doing esports is I did play in a Fortnite tournament, and I managed to win about $4,500 from Epic. But
nice.
I have since not returned to the land of Fortnite because the sweaty TTV builder boys drive me crazy.
So, do you have any like favorite memories being, I guess, in those kind of competitions and stuff?
Yes, it was a memory that I wasn't even competing in. This was when I was a co-owner of Team EnVyUs, and they went to Gfinity in London. And one of the things I wanted out of the organization with EnVyUs is I wanted a trip to Europe, and they agreed to cover some parts of it. And this was a time where Call of Duty YouTubers and pro scenes didn't cross over a whole lot, and people didn't, like YouTubers wouldn't go to events. So I made it to the venue, and it was packed. There were thousands of people there. And I was trying to find where to go with the team to get set up and start doing my thing. And if I remember correctly, we got a little lost and we accidentally walked out on main stage. It was me and Merc. And everybody in the audience recognized us and just started cheering. And I was not expecting that. I just walked out into 2,000 or 3,000 people cheering for me and Merc, and that was a very different feeling. And then, and then later that day, lots of cheers, big lines, that sort of thing. And it was really new and interesting and humbling to meet so many fans all at once.
So how long were you a co-owner?
2 or 3 years.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
So that means you guys traveled to and participated in a number of tournaments then? A lot of tournaments?
Yep. I didn't go to all of them by any means because I wasn't managing the team,
Okay.
but I went to some.
Okay. Any what's your thoughts right now on the new Call of Duty 4 and their battle royale modes and
I like Black Ops 4, Battle Royale, Blackout is what they call it, quite a lot. It was very fun for me for a long time. However, the monetization systems they've put in the game have made me just stop playing. Even at my income level with what I'm doing on YouTube, I feel like I can't afford to play Call of Duty anymore.
Gotcha.
And I think Activision is hell-bent on squeezing every ounce of money and life out of that game from the fans. Every year it's the same engine with minor upgrades. There's no major technological reinvestment. There's no major shift. It's another Call of Duty game, which is fine. And then every year it's a new method of monetization: supply drops, season pass, supply drops, and a season pass, in-game purchases. This year it had all of it. We have literally pre-order bonus, full game price, season pass, then monthly battle passes every 2 months. And then after 2-month battle passes, there's direct in-game purchases, challenge purchases, and supply drops. So that was just too much, and it just felt wrong. So since then, I've kind of pulled back, and I'm on that Apex Legends train.
I was just gonna say, what about Apex Legends? Talk to us about that. What's your thoughts?
I love it. I think it's really good. It's not without its flaws, but it's a really good game. It's literally a AAA polished shooter that dropped out of nowhere with no hype, BS marketing or anything, no console exclusivity, no major flaws, no crummy microtransaction system. Right now you can only get things by like skins for money and loot boxes, but the game is free. There's nothing outside of that, and you don't have to buy those things. So that's been pretty good for me. And I've had a lot of fun playing it too. Gameplay-wise, I think it's quite fun, even if the learning curve is somewhat steep.
Yeah. So give me your pros and cons with Apex versus Fortnite. I know those are the two hottest games right now.
So they're both free-to-play games. And they both have a microtransaction system that I think Apex's is going to end up being pretty similar to Fortnite's, though I will admit Fortnite has more content coming out faster than any game I've ever seen. From map updates to events to new vehicles to new weapons to new skins. Fortnite has a ton of content, so that's definitely a pro for them. Fortnite's made by Epic, which makes the engine for Unreal, so Fortnite runs really well. Fortnite is also the only game that has true crossplay at the moment that I'm aware of. You can play mobile, PC, Xbox, all in the same lobby, any system, with Switch players, and that's fantastic. That is something that's really, really rare. It brings people together, and Epic's been really adamant about supporting that. The base gameplay of Fortnite is also very unique, so it's very rarely repetitive in any capacity. And I think they're doing a lot of unique things, not only with their monetization systems, but with their in-game, we'll say, combat loops. And for the most part, it's really more of a hipfire game with the bloom that's very annoying. You can't go full auto. You can't aim down sights on very many guns. And it's also not really a shooter as much as it is a builder. You win your fights now by building, which in my opinion has become a detriment to the game, because if you're not playing 3 to 4 hours a day, you cannot keep up in a build fight, and life is hopeless.
Yep.
Apex, and then on the other end, you've got PUBG, which is closer to Milsim Battle Royale, very realistic weapons and sounds and ranges and bullet drop, and probably not as much on the health. People tend not to survive when you shoot them, but a more sweaty kind of game. Apex is in the middle, in that it is sci-fi. It's a little cartoony. It's a little upbeat. It's fast-paced. You have abilities and stuff. But despite all of that, it's still a shooting game at its core, and the guns and the shooting mechanics are really good, and the mobility is very good, even if it's slightly tuned down from Titanfall 2. So it's a game that you get to have fun with without having to go on either end of the sweaty and dealing with the TTV builders in Fortnite, or the god aim shroud people in PUBG that are difficult to deal with. It's a good balance, and I've had a lot of fun with it for that reason.
Nice. So are you what's in store for 2019? Are you gonna be hitting up any of those tournaments, in Apex or anything?
So I don't think I can do Apex tournaments because they're all sponsored by Twitch.
Gotcha.
And I stream on Mixer, which just kind of excludes me by default. So I don't expect to be participating in any of those anytime soon. My content with Apex is primarily going to be guide related, stream highlights, funny moments, that sort of stuff.
Gotcha. Kind of sucks though.
Well, it's rough because streaming used to just be the thing you do on Twitch, but now you've got YouTube and Facebook and Microsoft, which is Mixer, and Caffeine and LiveMe and all these other companies getting in and essentially offering contracts and buying out streamers. And it's kind of breaking up the market, but the money and the tournaments and the big events are all still based on Twitch.
Well, eventually, I guess they'll move on to some of these other platforms and stuff as well once they start pushing out some
games will, some won't.
Yeah,
it just depends on who's doing them.
Gotcha.
You're listening to the Game Chat Podcast, brought to you by Gamers Bay, with your host, Daniel Scott and Lance Jefferson.
What about like a little bit of your background? Like we talked about you've been doing this for about 10 years now. Have you did any formal education as well? Did you end up going to college?
I have 2 degrees. First degree is in mechanical engineering. Second degree is Master's of Business Administration.
Awesome.
I got those before the YouTube thing took off. I don't know, I wanted to be a scientist at one point. I wanted to work in engineering, and I did my program and I got my degree, but near the end of it, I was getting burned out because that was after the 2008 financial crash, where engineers went from high pay to not so great pay. And I saw a lot of people that were being treated as quants. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the word quant, but it would be like a guy in an office with a big stack of equations, and they were like, here, crunch these numbers, and your job would just be to math all day. You weren't doing anything creative. You weren't building or making anything. You're just math, solve this problem. Which I get as part of the engineering tool set, so to speak. But that was scary, so I was like, all right, you know what? I want to do something more creative. I want to put my, inventing powers to work doing business. So I signed on the MBA program. And the MBA program was enlightening, but parts of it were horrifying and depressing, because some of the professors, but also a lot of the students, were interested in making money and not providing a product or service, not I'm going to make money and be a benefit to society, I'm going to invent something nobody else has and make money. There was a lot of scheming, how to make money off existing things, how to set up service companies, and just some kind of unethical things that I had to do, even in my advising sessions in undergraduate that graduate, but really burned me out. And about the same time, I was doing YouTube part-time. I worked with Machinima, and they had a very unusual pay structure. It was a little separate from YouTube. But I was doing it part-time for income because I wanted to get married, and I didn't want to work at Applebee's or Starbucks or whatever because I make the same money. And I realized, okay, if I'm going to do this wedding, I need more money, and there's no cap on how many videos I can make. I can just make more videos, and more videos is more money. And the pay structure was then such that it was delayed about 3 months, maybe 4. So I started working really hard, just cranking out videos, and the views were going up and up and up, and things were going well. And I got the money, and I got married, and I had a big wedding and did that. And then after the wedding, the money just kept coming in more and more and more. And I did some quick math, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm making more than a starting salary NBA playing video games. What's the smarter choice here?
There you go. There you go. And then the rest is kind of history, huh?
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal story. Yes, yeah, that's phenomenal.
So talk to us a little bit about growing your community. I know we have a lot of viewers out there that they're trying to get started with YouTube and they want to be a content creator. Like, what? Give us some little insights and tips. You think?
I don't think there's any magic or insights in growing a community.
Mhm.
And the majority of the advice that you could give about managing people or expectations or this kind of giveaway or this kind of strategy is nonsense, because different things work for different people. The simple broad brush that I could use to paint over this problem would be that to grow a community or to make a channel or to do content creation, you need to do the content that you want to do. If you just decide, I'm going to be a funny moments channel, I'm going to upload clips from Ninja, Road to Commander is popular, Mozambique only, everybody's, and you're just like, I just want to get views and subs.
Mm-hmm.
Most people fail horrifically with that. I can think of about 2 people that didn't make content that they wanted and just went the views and sub methods and was successful. Almost everybody else failed miserably. And the content that resonates best with audiences is content that they can tell that you're interested in. If it's something that you're passionate about, it'll show up even subconsciously in your voice. It'll show up in the way you treat and work on the content. It'll show up in a lot of different things. If you're just trying to crank views, it will eventually backfire.
That's a gold nugget right there.
So what I took away was do something that you're authentic about and be authentic about what you're doing.
Yeah. Even if it's something that other people would make fun of you about, if it's model trains, if it's, I don't know, testing out different types of Tums tablets, if you're a marker enthusiast, if it's something that actually matters to you, it probably matters to somebody else and it'll resonate well with them.
Absolutely. Jumping topics again. We talked about earlier, when you walked out on stage, and unexpectedly, you had 2,000 or 3,000 people just cheering for you to see you there. Is that something that you do often as well? Like go to events and do any public appearances? No.
I don't do that too often. I do go to events, and I'm not private. I don't hide. There's no security team or like VIP red tape. I do fan meetups when I travel around the world. If I go to a new country, I try to have a fan meetup in that country. I can't every time. Sometimes for legal reasons. Sometimes at events there's a fan meetup. Sometimes there isn't. But as far as like big public, like me literally on a stage in front of a giant audience, very rarely.
Yeah.
So have you ever been to the Cayman Islands?
No.
All right. We might have to do a fan meetup over here, man.
No, I did. I've done them various places in the U.S. I did it in Japan, Singapore, Germany, and London, but I didn't do it in Peru. Peru was a little bit too dangerous to attract attention to myself like that.
Gotcha.
I would say you're in Texas, right?
Correct.
Yeah, we had Jessie Fines.
Jessie Fines, yeah.
Down here as well for our first event. She's from Texas as well.
What's your thoughts on esports and where it's heading? Do you think that we'll ever get esports in the Olympics?
Olympics, I'm going to say, are far less likely. It's possible the Olympics may not be a thing in some number of years. Esports is it's doing better than that. What I used to say is that esports is now where NASCAR was 20 years ago. It was a joke sport. It was not serious. It's not a real sport because it's just cars and cars are doing the work. But esports has very quickly gone past the joke level of where NASCAR was and moved much more into the mainstream. And I think that you will start seeing esports on TV, on ESPN, and as the younger generation moves up and starts spending money and consuming more media and having more prominence, you will see an increasing number of esports being broadcast in mainstream media. If mainstream media even lasts, it's not all going to go digital very soon. I don't think that you're going to see esports have the same level of generational staying power or legacy like the Olympics, because esports comes in waves. StarCraft is hot, now it's not. Warcraft is hot, now it's not. Overwatch is the thing, now it's not. CSGO, COD, whatever. And these franchises last for a long time, but they're very rarely number one for a long time. They get discontinued. You can look at League of Legends, and they're on season 8, 9 now.
8.
Okay, so let's say League of Legends has been hot for 8 years, and League of Legends esports is still probably the number one. I don't know. Fortnite does really well though. Let's say League of Legends has been number 1 or 2 for 8 years. 8 years is nothing compared to MLB, to NBA, to NFL. That is a blip. There are single players that last longer than entire competitive esports. So esports is definitely going to be there. It's going to be popular. It's going to be a big exhibition event. But I think it's going to be something that rotates and changes really fast.
What about your idea about with regards to some of the traditional sports like your soccer and your basketball, playing those in the digital form?
I don't think it'll, what's the right word? I don't think that playing digital soccer is going to replace playing traditional soccer for sports. At least in the first world, people play sports mostly not because they want to be a superstar, but for fun, for physical activity, to do something with their friends. And that isn't going away anytime soon. Playing games, it's great. I do it all the time. But there is fun about going out in the real world and doing it. It will exist for some time.
No, for sure. I'm just more thinking along the lines of maybe like being an addition to the Olympics, let's say per se, where you got a team from U.S. and teams from Canada and China and around the world, basically.
They already do that. EA has their own championships. But I don't think those are going to overtake the actual real sports they're simulating.
Yeah.
All right, Gamer Nation. So that brings us to the end of another Game Chat episode. We had an awesome time talking with Drift0r. We learned a lot. I know I did, especially in the comparison for Apex versus Fortnite.
Man, we covered content creation. We covered
we covered
esports,
being authentic, growing your community. Thank you again, Brad, aka Drift0r, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to possibly having you on again in the future, and we wish you nothing but continued success. Very intelligent. You're doing your thing. Just all the best for you in the future.
Yeah, keep the content. Keep the content going.
All right, guys. Till next time. This is Daniel and Nat signing off.
Peace out.
Congratulations! This game's winner is...
Thanks for joining us this week on Game Chat. Make sure to visit our website, gamersbaycayman.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. We also have cool merchandise and tickets for next year's event. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us too. You can also find us on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. See you all on next week's episode of Game Chat.